Hi guys, and welcome to Rockin' Kiwi Finance, the channel that aims to not only rock your finances but helps you along your journey to financial independence. I'm Adam.
And I'm Darren, and we would like to share with you a brief summary of how we got here and why we decided to create this content. Alright guys, we'd just like to give you a brief summary about ourselves to help you get to know us. I grew up in rural New Zealand where my parents did a great job of instilling the traditional get educated, get a good job, work hard and save your money philosophy. So when I finished high school, I went to university to get educated. And I eventually found a good job at a great local company, although in a completely unrelated industry, so I had to resume my studying. However, my hard work was noticed and I was rewarded with an opportunity. And being from New Zealand, I've always had a great Kiwi dream of owning my own home. So myself and my wife worked hard, we saved our money and we paid off our debt on our mortgage. So I do feel very fortunate in life. However, I've always felt like I've missed something. I've noticed that some smart people don't necessarily have the financial outcomes that you would expect. I've noticed that people that buy assets tend to have better financial outcomes over the long term. And on a personal note, I've noticed that people that purchased assets with borrowed money tended to do better than myself and my reduce my debt strategy at the financial conditions at the time. So I used to find myself asking people, how does money work? And I was always met with the same responses of, what do you mean, how does money work? Or you know how money works. But when the subject of the national debt came up at an election a few years back, I thought to myself, who do all the countries in the world owe all this money to? So I decided to research myself about how money worked. And turns out it's quite simple, although it still seems slightly illogical to me. And it's this slightly illogical function that money has that requires me to perform an additional step just to maintain my wealth compared to the traditional steps as what my parents taught me when I was younger. And this also explained why people that purchased assets with borrowed money tended to do better than myself and my reduce my debt strategy at the financial conditions at the time. And so once I knew how money worked, I did find it much easier to develop a financial plan. And after I developed that financial plan, I really took notice that it affects a compound interest over the long term. And it also gave me an appreciation about how unnecessary spending affected my financial outcome over the long term. However, in saying all this, you do only have one life and you do have to be happy. So it seems important to set practical, realistic financial goals to help you achieve the things that you want to do in life.
So like Darren, very fortunate myself to also work for the same private company here in New Zealand, and it's a great job and I'm very, very happy where I am. But unlike Darren, I didn't start out here in New Zealand. I originally grew up in the UK, and after university I moved out here when I was 22. My previous employer was an international company. I was very fortunate in that role to be able to train overseas and to also go and work overseas in Africa. And it's with doing that you're able to see different cultures, different people, different ways of living, and ultimately really happiness and the true form of happiness, not a consumerism or consumerist happiness that we're exposed to in the Western world. And I think ultimately what it dawns on you, or what dawned on you during that time, is that you start to realise that what is happiness? What makes me happy? And I think a lot of that is to be stress-free. It's a shame, isn't it, that throughout your education at school you might get taught how to read and how to write and how to add and subtract, but you don't really get a financial education. And particularly in today's world where we don't buy things with gold coins anymore, we use paper money, we have access to credit, and it's that understanding of the system I think is so critical, and that you don't go down a path where you end up in financial ruin, but particularly in quite a mess. And I think that's what the aim of this channel and these series is. We're really going to try and help you guys understand not only the financial system and the worlds in which we live in, but also how to best manage your finances and to make the most of your time here. Because let's face it, we make the worst trade of all. We trade time for money. That's essentially what working is. And if we take that further, then, well, time is life. So your life, your working life, you really want to make sure that you're maximizing the value from that and the wealth that you're generating from that not only is enough to sustain you and give you a stress-free life, but hopefully for your children and your children's children. And I think ultimately that would be a great goal, to provide generational wealth. And I'm here to tell you with Darren that it is absolutely achievable. Yes, nothing's free. There's no such thing as a free lunch. You have to work at it. But people often say, you often hear, oh, he or she's lucky, they were lucky, lucky break. But I'm here to tell you that you make your own luck. You put yourself in those situations that, if you want to call it luck, you've actually put yourself in the situation that the luck has fallen into your lap. You have created that situation. And so it's very important that you realize that whatever situation you're currently in, you can change. It's like a famous author said, you may not be able to, halfway through a story, go back and change the beginning, but you can certainly change the ending. And I think that's very much true in your own life, and particularly with your finances. And so here on this channel, we will do our absolute best to give you the tools and provide you with that toolkit that really we all should have had through school. Another important aspect to bear in mind is that we all make mistakes. We're all human. It's normal to make mistakes. The key is that you pick yourself up, you dust yourself off, you learn from it, and you move on. The difference is, if you keep making those mistakes, then clearly you're not learning. But it's okay to make them. In much the same way that you can make them yourself, but you can also learn vicariously through others, either ourselves or other YouTubers. There's some great resources out there. But there's numerous books and various sources of literature that can also help. And it's our goal to really drip feed that through to you. It's by standing on the shoulders of giants that we're all able to see further. It's not that we're reinventing the wheel. It's just not possible. We've progressed because we've developed and we've built upon decades and millennia of growth and development. That's how we've got to where we are. The worrying thing is that that growth is exponentially increasing, and if you don't understand it and grasp it and get ahead of it, you will be left behind.
Each video in this series will help you not only better understand your own finances and life goals, but also help you with a better understanding of the financial system.
So if this is something that appeals to you, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell, crank it up to 11, and join us on our and your journey to financial independence.